The last few months of 2022 have been moments of crests and troughs for the Ethereum coin. So it's understandable if Ether fans have high expectations in regards to the next Ethereum blockchain upgrade, coming up around April 2023. Even though the long-awaited transition of Ethereum from a proof of work to a proof of stake verification method, known as the merge, seems to have had no positive effect, since the crypto market was sent crashing a few weeks later by the collapse of the FTX exchange. Undoubtedly, things were not going so well with the Ethereum coin even before Sam Bankman-Fried's firm crumbled. On September 13, 2022, ETH was trading at around $1,710, but due to several other factors, it dropped down to $1,610 on September 14th. Even on the day the merge took place, the 15th of September, it managed to hit a value price of $1,648.95. Days after, it dropped drastically to $1,285. But when Google announced it has built a node management service compatible with the Ethereum blockchain, the price rose to $1,500 on October 25, 2022. Coupled with Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter, ETH reached a peak of $1,652.38 on October 29, 2022, although still less than what it was worth before the merge. Later, towards the end of the year, Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, announced an update, which included a new stage called the Scourge. This was designed to address issues concerning the amount of crypto available whenever blocks were added to the blockchain. This news boosted the ETH price, reaching a peak of $1,661.33 on November 4, 2022. However, due to the announcement that Binance had backed out of a deal to buy FTX, ETH collapsed to $1,083.29 on November 9th. It experienced a slight recovery the next day and rose to $1,341.79, only to fall further to roughly $1,285 by December 9th. On the 14th of December, ETH was trading at $1,346.17, its best price in more than a month. But it fell again to around $1,215 on the 21st of December, a 26% drop from the $1,648.95 price on September 15th. Going forward, the Ethereum blockchain will undergo a radical change and upgrade called Shanghai, which will enable the withdrawal of staked ETH. Although the timeline for when that will happen isn't clear yet. A Decrypt report predicted that it could happen by the second quarter of 2023, while Visa also proposed that people could henceforth make automatic payments in Ether from their crypto wallets. The SEC, ETH could be a security. The initial price drop that happened after the merge was said to have been influenced by news that the chairman of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, Gary Gensler, supposedly said that the change to the consensus mechanism meant that ETH could potentially be considered a security, and thus subject to regulation by American authorities. A court case filed by the SEC also implied that it considered ETH could fall under its jurisdiction. One of the documents tendered in the case against the crypto trader Ian Ballina was ETH's contributions were authenticated by nodes on the Ethereum blockchain, which are clustered, located majorly in the United States than in any other country. As a result, those transactions took place in the United States. Joe Lubin, Ethereum co-founder, gave a different explanation, claiming that the coin's poor performance post-merge was due to weak macroeconomic conditions. Lubin described the coin as a tail that is being wagged by a very sick dog. ETH has always been considered a commodity alongside other cryptos. This was revealed in the papers filed against the former FTX boss, Sam Bankman-Fried, by the United States Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or CFTC, on the 13th of December 2022. Don't forget that Ether fell below $2,000 in May 2022, soon after Terra's Luna and UST currencies flopped. Even though ETH is gradually recovering after this huge drop, it is still trading less than it was before the crashes. What might happen following the merge? Could it be said that there are unfavorable consequences of the merge? Perhaps it is too early to draw such a conclusion, but let's dwell on the positive side, as well as the long-term Ethereum price predictions that were being made for the years ahead. While many developers and holders were looking forward to the merge, ETH miners were not as excited. These people were afraid that they would lose a large portion of their money, so several miners collaborated to create a proof-of-work version of Ether called Ethereum POW, or ETHW. On September 12th, The ETHW core, the team behind the proposals, said that the mainnet will be operational within 24 hours of the merge. This indeed took place. The team posted a list of mining pools, and a few hours later, the mainnet became live. And on September 16th, this new form of currency was worth $14.25, according to CoinMarketCap. However, the auditing company BlockSec later reported that the new cryptocurrency had been the victim of a so-called replay assault. This led to a drop in its price, and by September 20th, it was worth barely $7. By the 22nd of September, it had dropped drastically to $5.85 before bouncing back to $13.78 on the 24th of September. All through the following month, the new cryptocurrency kept swinging back and forth in its price till it finally collapsed to about $2.95 on the 21st of December 2022. Although we don't know what will become of the ETHW currency, it's worth keeping a watch on. Now that Ethereum has switched to its new consensus method, there is every possibility that it may end up becoming another proof-of-stake blockchain. While its main competitors, Cardano, Solana, Polkadot, Avalanche, Tron, and Tezos blockchains have all experienced their fair share in the drop in the value of their coin over the past 3 months, we still have to keep an eye on their performance over the coming months in case they experience a post-merge boost. However, it all depends on what happens in the global crypto market and how, if at all, they will recover from the FTX crash effect. Ethereum price predictions for 2030 to 2050. Talking about price predictions for 2030 to 2050, especially for something as volatile as cryptocurrency, you must note that they are mere price forecasts and are often wrong. Furthermore, because they are long-term forecasts, they are often made using an algorithm, which means that several factors can change at any time. Digital Coin Price predicted that the Ethereum price might reach $17,197.88 in 2030, based on its assessment of historical data. According to Coin Price Forecast, the price of ETH might reach $2,426 by the end of 2030, and an average of $3,070 by the end of 2034. Based on its artificial intelligence-assisted technical research, Price Prediction maintained an optimistic long-term prediction for Ethereum, saying that ETH may be worth $1,269.31 in 2022, $1,808.71 in 2023, and $4,086.73 in 2025, and might skyrocket to $28,039.38 in 2030. Captain Altcoin was also positive in its predictions, estimating that Ethereum's future value may reach $23,763.30 by 2030, and even stated further that the coin might reach $47,526.60 by 2040. Telegon also estimated the future price of Ethereum might rise from an average of $5,617.24 in 2025 to $9,798.93 in 2030, and $23,871.42 in 2040, before offering an Ethereum price forecast for 2050, stating it may reach $45,128.53. Of course, such long-term estimates are by default unrealistic and weird. When evaluating an Ethereum price forecast, keep in mind that cryptocurrency markets remain very unpredictable. No one can accurately predict what a coin or token's price will be in a few hours. How much more long-term projections? Just note that experts and algorithm-based forecasts can be wrong. If you're thinking about investing in cryptocurrency tokens, always do your homework. Check out market trends, news, technical and fundamental analysis, and expert opinions. Remember that previous performance does not guarantee future results, and never invest money you cannot afford to lose. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.